What games do you think belong in the board game canon? And as fun as it is to think about, I'm not talking about a t-shirt cannon-like device that fires copies of Candyland into unsuspecting crowds. I'm talking about canon in the sense of the literary canon, a list of books that are considered to be incredibly important to our society and our culture. Things like To Kill a Mockingbird, Pride and Prejudice, The Great Gatsby, Sonic the Hedgehog Archives, Volume 6. So then I ask you, what board games belong in the board game canon? And of course you have classics that, love them or hate them, have been pillars of the hobby for decades. Games like Monopoly and Clue. These have stood the test of time in one way or another, and their influence on the hobby is undeniable. Catan and Ticket to Ride are two obvious examples after that. They are, after all, responsible for bringing a lot of people into the hobby and introducing them to some of the most important game mechanics in the hobby, like card drafting, or blocking someone else's route just to be a dick. And while they weren't the first ones to do it, games like Agricola and Stone Age can absolutely be held up as two of the most influential worker placement games in the entire hobby. Twilight Imperium is kind of the Moby Dick of the board game canon. It's huge and intimidating, but once you get time to really sink your teeth into it, it's legendary and rewarding. And if we want to branch into tabletop gaming as a whole, we have to include, of course, Magic the Gathering. Its creators being the first people who asked, what if trading card, but game? Of course, the granddaddy of tabletop role-playing games, Dungeons & Dragons, has a seat at the table as well. And then there are newer games like Root and Wingspan that are relatively new, but the huge success and ripple effects can be felt in the entire board game design industry in a way that's palpable and unmissable. So what games do you think belong in the board game canon? Not this one, the one I was just talking about.